Hey, Monica, did you know it's now even easier to listen to Round the Hay Bale podcast?
What? Really? How easy?
That's right. All you have to do is say, Alexa, play Round the Hay Bale podcast.
Playing Round the Hay Bale podcast on Apple Music.
Oh, we're really fancy now.
Tune in to Round the Hay Bale every Monday at 9 a.m. Central. Round the Hay Bale Unscripted is brought to you by, with gardening season at an end, Cayce certified organic products are still what your soil needs.
From overwintering fruit trees to preparing your soil for spring, Cayce calcium-based fertilizer gives the essential minerals they need to thrive.
Applying Cayce to agricultural soils and water has been proven to increase plant and crop yields while making vegetables and grains healthier and more nutritious.
In addition, Kelzyme can help restore the nutrient balance in animals when they are fed plants grown using Kelzyme in both soil and water.
To check out all of Cayce's organic products, visit cayceime.com and use the promo code HAYBALE for 10% off your purchase.
Grab a cup of joe and gather round the hay bale with your hosts, Alicia from Country Mama Musings, Ann from Andale Homestead, Cayce from Ormsby Farms, and Monica from Bland's Promised Land Ranch. Now, here they are, unscripted. Hey, y'all. Hey!
Woo! Welcome back, everybody, to Round the Hay Bale Season 4 Unscripted. Guys, we get wild. Are you ready for this? My name is Alicia from Country Mama Musings. I'd like to welcome you into the next episode.
And I'm Ann from Andale Homestead. So glad to have you.
What's up, y'all? It's Cayce.
And my name is Monica, and thanks again for coming along and joining us on this episode. So we actually are joined again on this episode with some amazing people. We had them on a previous episode where we were talking about worms and flies and maggots and all the things, and it was really interesting. It was such a great episode. If you haven't checked it out, make sure you go and you jump back to, I believe, episode 18, and you're going to go check that out. And here we are again talking to Sidney and Tory from The Naked Gardeners. And this time we're talking about poultry and all the possibilities that poultry can have. Now, before we get started, before we really get into it, I want to just give a little warning here and remind everybody that this episode may contain explicit content not suitable for all audiences. And this is the reason I want to touch on that, because we are going to discuss raising poultry, all the different types, and maybe processing it and some other things. So we're going to get down and dirty with Sidney and ToryAnn talking about the different type of poultry that might be great for you on your homestead. And of course, how to stock up your freezer, stock up your pantry full of all that good meat. So thank you again for joining us, Sidney and Tory, the Naked Gardeners.
Thank you for having us.
So we're going to get started and we're going to get right into it. In your opinion, because you've been through a lot of poultry, you've had experience with all kinds of poultry. We're going to just start off with chickens. What is, in your opinion, and I know you just did a video on this recently, so I think I know what your favorite poultry is, but what's your favorite chicken to raise on the farm and why? If somebody is looking to raise a chicken and they're like, the ideal chicken for me would be this, what would be your ideal chicken and why?
Okay, I'll go ahead and take the reins on this one. Now, like just background wise, we started off with a wide variety of background chickens, or like backyard chickens, like Barred Rock, Rhode Island Reds, Brahmas, light and buff Brahmas. I'll start, like for me, right out the gate, I really like the Brahma roosters of all. Like when it comes to protection, I am very pro rooster, pro docile rooster that is not aggressive, and the Brahmas are the best in that way. Now, if you're doing stuff like we're doing rotational grazing, regenerative things, we're moving poultry, we need to have our poultry be as proactive as possible. In the beginning, shortly after we got our backyard chickens, we got the American breast chickens. And that is something that Mr. Naked Gardener actually did a lot of homework on more than 3 years ago now. Before we even moved here, we knew that we were going to have American breast before we ever bought this property. And it became very popular right after we got them. It kind of took us and surprised us that they became popular because we were just starting our process with American breast. I'll just jump right into American breast is the best heritage multi-purpose breed. We're going into our 3rd year with all these different breeds.
Second year.
Yeah, 2nd year. Okay. And we're into our 3rd generation of upbreeding of the American breast. I will say I didn't have this opinion in the first set. I was on the fence in the second set. It's definitely a breed when you're upbreeding in our 3rd set now. It's become my most favorite breed of any breed that I have here, not just because they don't tear up the ground as much, but also they don't eat as much. They're much better foragers. It's a bird that tastes really good. Nothing goes to waste. So like in the way that we live and being less waste, everybody having a job, at least 2 jobs, they can have it. Our animals need to have at least 2 jobs at minimum, to have a symbiotic relationship with us as we're doing what we're doing. And coming into this as foodies, American breast is a top table meat bird. It's not what anybody thinks a meat bird is if they have experience with Cornish crosses. It's nothing like a Cornish cross. It's a meat bird that's very cognizant or like resembles some of your regular backyard breeds. But it's even different from that. What would you say?
I like the fact that what she was saying is we have a flock of American breast right now around our raspberry bush, and they have not even touched anything around it, not have bothered anything. And
or watermelon too.
Yeah, we had them around some wild watermelon that was growing out of the ground. They just didn't even bother it. I was like, what in the world? But they would go after grasshoppers, bugs, and everything else. And it was just amazing. And they're very cold tolerant. They're very heat tolerant. So, I mean, you know how hot it is in Texas. And we had no losses with our American breast out of all of the chickens and poultry that we're raising. So,
and every time that we had like a really stressful weather event, especially like the traumatic rainstorms that we've had, I've lost a barnyard mixed bird almost every time, at least one, and I never had that happen with the American breasts.
I would say those Cornish cross would be stroking out a lot in the heat over here in Texas.
Oh,
I mean, they just stroke and fall down and they be done. So
yeah, the day before we took all of ours to the processor, we had recently the storm, the Thursday night storm.
Oh, the blue storm.
Yeah. And we were afraid. We were like, oh my gosh, we were like right on the line of making the cut.
Just make it to Friday.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Yeah. Yeah. And so like we were afraid that one of them was going to stroke out on us.
Okay.
But, and that's a thing. Like when you hear the term meat bird, like most people that know anything about poultry, when you hear meat bird, only know about Cornish cross. Well, the heritage meat birds, it's a whole different animal. It's not the same thing as a Cornish cross. It's much more, it resembles much more what you're used to with your backyard breeds. Like these birds have personalities. They're very intelligent. They just forage more. And when you go in to the space where they're at, they're not like right underneath your feet like, backyard mixes are. Mm-hmm. I'm really glad that we've been in an investigative mode because it's helped us like find what works for us much faster.
And let me say, I am so excited about this episode tonight because of the American breast. And I know a person that was talking to me about it that totally pronounced it wrong. And we're actually in our side studio chat talking about that. And I know this person actually listens to our podcast. So it's not brise. It's not American brise.
No, it's not
It is.
brise.
It's not brise. That sounds a little bit more fancy than it really is, but it's breast. Not breast with a T. It's BRESSE, and I did a lot of research on that bird because it is dual purpose. When a lot of us homesteaders, when we go into homesteading, we think I want to be self-sustainable or community sustainable, and as a raising Cornish cross, you cannot be self-sustainable off of Cornish cross because they're not able to get to the age to lay the eggs that then can reproduce themselves.
With them.
Yes, always. An American breast, not brise, are that it's the new popular dual purpose chicken for good meat. So I know me and Ann have talked about it before. Ann, what do you think about this kind of topic of the non-brise?
You're going to confuse me. I'm going to forget how to say it, but I'm really interested in hearing this. I'm a new chicken mama. I just got 2 girls in April, and then, of course, chicken math hit. By the end of April, I had 6 more. And so I'm trying really hard not to get any more than that because I'm only supposed to have 4. But, 4 means 8, right? I mean, that's chicken math. I'm sure of it.
Correct.
Love them all and have names for all of them. Excuse me. But as far as meat birds, you're absolutely correct. My idea when I think of meat birds are these little savages that last about 4 to 6 weeks that want to eat their owners. You can't walk around them. They're just okay, so maybe I should have said that a little differently, but what they want to do is eat all the food and just destroy everything. They get so fat so fast that they can't move, they can't lay, they are not able to function. And so in 45 days, you're doing them a favor by processing these meat birds of the ones that I'm familiar with. So are these American brise, are they still a 45-day to 60-day kind of chicken? Does this take longer? Are they, because I have silver lace Wyandottes and Rhode Island Reds, and I have a little Longhorn, and I have some Bar Rock. I let the grandbabies go and get one of everything. So we don't have but like one of everything. But if you would share with me how these go, the length of time that they need to stick around before they're in freezer camp.
So we have opposing views. So I'll just give you my view real quick. I'll first say that the American breast, a heritage breed, any time that you are going to have a heritage breed, always expect the bird to be less weight. It's not going to be like a Cornish cross. You're not going to have a 4 to 8 pound, a bird of meat.
Okay.
It's probably going to be average between 3 to maybe 5 on the high end.
Okay.
And depending on how old, like I prefer them processed around 14 to 16 weeks. I like them more on the tender side, and I like to do a fermented raw milk corn finish out the last 2 weeks. We have done it both ways, and that is the classic finish out for an American breast. There's been some controversy about that. A lot of people.
Tori, explain that a little bit more for our listeners that don't really understand what you're saying by the finish.
Yeah. So American breast has a very I don't
a
know.
genetic meat structure where the corn
with their muscle and their fat.
Yeah, with the corn and whey, it turns their meat into almost resemble like a
dark meat.
Yeah, like basically a steak. It's red.
And it's just that breed that's that way.
Yeah.
You can't do this with a Cornish cross. You can't do this with another breed.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
People have tried.
Yeah.
It's a genetic lineage that allows them to metabolize their food in a different way. It's a very unique way. It's almost like when you're looking at marbling, a lot of people marble their beef that way, and they will finish off their beef with corn, and they'll finish it because the more you finish off your beef cow with corn, it will put that marbling, or however you finish off your pork, however you're raising your pastured animals, you can add things to their diet like the pork and the beef. And so this particular poultry breed, you can do that with because they're bred that way specifically. And they're like originally from France.
Look how red the meat is.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's an American breast right there.
Okay. And what you're talking about by finishing off, because I've never finished off anything but the garden. You know what I mean? But when your plants die, you can pull them up. And so when you're talking about finishing off, this is kind of topping off their diet before they're processed.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and I don't want to complicate things, but with the American breasts, we are doing, like, for us as breeders, we are going through and looking at characteristics and looking at like their feet, making sure they're really beautiful dark blue feet, red combs, red wattles, no defects. Those birds are, and white earlobes. Like, we're always looking at very particular characteristics for the breed. They're not a show breed. There's a lot of people out there that focus way too much on the looks. All of them taste delicious. Okay. It doesn't matter. They're very delicious birds. But for us as breeders, we're looking for, like upbreeding. We're going to keep good stock. So all the extra roosters are immediately going to be part of our meat group. Any bird that has like a defective, like splash or a miscoloration or something like that is going to go, or a cross beak sometimes happens, or a crooked toe. That's going to go into our meat group. And the finish out is the last 2 weeks before we process them. We start them on a fermented corn with raw milk. We start fermenting it 2 days before we start giving it to them. And then it's 2 weeks to the day when we process them.
Okay, so from what I understand, sorry, I just jumped right in there, y'all, but from what I understand, what you're telling me is that this particular breed could potentially live out their life in it's not just a meat breed. It's
correct.
Something.
It's a dual purpose breed, I should say. Now,
something that's fascinating is that they lay at 4 months.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, my little girls haven't laid yet.
They average anywhere from 200 to 250 eggs per year.
A piece?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, that is what we talk about when we say self-sufficient. You know that you're able to, from one of your hens, and of course you have to have a rooster because you need a boy and a girl, folks, to make this happen, is you could get 200 to 250 birds that you either could add to your flock if they're hens and they're looking good, or you have 200 to 250 meat birds that can then be processed for your family or sold if you're selling the processed meat. It's just, when I heard about this breed of chickens, it is such an interesting breed to look into for homesteaders. And for that reason, mainly, is that they are such a good dual purpose bird.
Yeah.
Okay, and Casey, do you have any?
I don't, not yet. I am looking into getting some because I have two bantams. I do. And I have, one out of my 11 chickens, I have 7 boys. So that's never really good. And all of my chickens are kind of a backyard mix anyways. It's I got a couple bantams, and of course my 4 girls, 2 of them are bantams. So if I want to have like an itty bitty half a pound chicken for dinner, then I'd have to raise like 400. So
yeah.
How about you, Monica? Do you have any? Do you or Alicia?
No, I don't have any yet. That's something I've been looking into. I have a friend of mine up the street. I've literally texted ToryAnn like twice and was like, I'm thinking about getting American breasts, and maybe can you tell me your prices? And then I like fall off the face of the earth because I'm like, crud, I'm not ready to do these yet. So it's kind of like in my head, I need to really get my head around doing it, making sure, because I think what I want to do is actually switch my flock to being predominantly American breasts. And if I have any barnyard mixes, I'm going to have to make that decision. Do I want to get rid of all my mixes and just have American breasts? Or do I want to start sectioning off my birds? And see, I do not keep my birds separate.
Same here.
So I need to decide, do I want to just go to one particular breed and be done? Or do I want to take a chance of them intermingling? Or am I going to have to go through the movement pieces, which Eric doesn't like to give any of his pasture land up to anything except for his cattle. So I'm going to have to like sweet talk him into giving me some land for if I wanted to rotationally, keep American breasts in a certain area. So I don't know, but I like really want to have that breed because I've done Cornish Cross. I've looked into Red Rangers. Have you guys ever done Red Rangers? Alicia, you don't like them? I've heard that they're kind of persnickety. Alicia, have you ever done Red Rangers or had any other breeds that were dual purpose breeds?
I've never had any dual purpose breeds here on the farm at all. But I will say I'll throw this out here in hopes that we can pick it up later in the conversation because I don't want to get off of the breasts. I'm sorry, I couldn't help it. I cracked myself up.
I told y'all. I told you she is going to go for it.
I can't help it. Unscripted. I eventually, like I said, I think it would be something worth talking about later is once my little backyard group finishes out their natural life here, I'm thinking about, for myself, for the ease of what I need, I'm thinking about switching over to quail. Because I cannot sit there and look at all of my chickens in their run. They have a very large run. It is like a little, palace out there. But I have to let them out and let them free range. And then every once in a while the fox will show up and then I'm missing a couple chickens. And, I just can't do that. But I think if I had the quail, I would know that I can't let them out. And the very large run for the chickens would make a very nice aviary for the quail. And then what we have for our little brooder would just be a nice little pen for the quail. And I mean, they start giving you eggs between 8 and 10 weeks. I wouldn't process them for food, which is something that I just haven't even figured out what I'm going to do yet. But I think since it's just the 2 of us here on the farm, I think, making a nice little 5-egg quail omelet for breakfast would be absolutely fine. And
you could always
eat a lot less feed.
But you could sell the boys, why not sell them and make some money back? I mean, you don't have to know what people are doing with them, but
my heart does know.
Them.
It's just like right now, just like Cayce, I have too many roosters right now, but I know if I have somebody take my rooster, I know what his.
I thought you were about to say, don't send them to Ormsby Farm. I already have enough roosters.
I know, but I know if I put them out there, they're going to end up in somebody's crock pot. And I hatched them here on the farm. I mean,
you could always. They're going to be a blessing to somebody.
No, I can't. I just can't do it. I can't know that I watched them for 21 days and loved them as babies and nurtured them into. I can't do it.
I will say that me and Monica were talking about this exact topic right after we got off the morning show. And I think a lot of the times, especially homesteaders, when we see people on YouTube, I don't want to say fantasize, but make it look of the processing and all that kind of stuff a lot easier than it really is. Me coming from a first time processor for the meat birds, it's romanticized. Thank you, Monica, because I can't find words sometimes late at night. it's hard. It's hard to, in your head, going into it. Like I knew going into it, hey, I want to raise these animals for meat for my family.
Right.
But then you get right up to it and you're like,
my husband,
oh gosh, this is going to be hard.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, we've all fallen in love with all our chickens, so I don't know what we're gonna do when they
We do.
stop
And
laying eggs.
just so that the listeners know, and so that, our guests here on the panel know, I mean, I grew up on a farm. I processed
Okay.
hundreds of rabbits and turkeys and chickens. I mean, I've done all of that. We raised cattle and squab, and we raised hogs. And so, that was all a big part of my childhood. But something just kind of snapped in me about 12 years ago, and I don't want to do it anymore. So
Okay.
everything here on the farm is either a rescue. They came to us because they were unloved or unwanted, and they live out the rest of their natural life here. Or I get the chickens, or somebody says, hey, I've got too many turkeys. Can they come live at your house? And I do all that. And they just live their natural life here. Now, whether that natural life is till their old age or until the fox decides that they want to come pay us a visit, and I'm stupid enough to let them out in free range in the orchard. But I'm not involved in the processing anymore. It's just something that I did that enough as a child up until I was about 14 years old, and I personally choose not to do it anymore. And it's not that I don't appreciate and respect my co-hosts and anyone who's listening who does that. It's a personal choice, and I do appreciate when my co-hosts, who are my friends, they do their best to respect my sensitivities and make sure that they don't do anything that's going to, really set me off and send me into the corner crying and sucking my thumb while I rock back and forth in a fetal position. But
we may see that by the end of the episode, friends.
It's possible.
So just be prepared.
Possible. But to get back to where I was going with this is I'm considering quail. So maybe we can hit that in a little bit farther down in the broadcast, so that our guests can let us know how they feel about that, if they've looked into it, if they've done any research, and what they feel. But, I'm going to throw it back over to the rest of the panel here, because they're continuing to talk about breasts, minus the T.
So, to give a little background about us, we didn't grow up this way. We are city folks. We are first-time generation farmers. My parents, on my dad's side, he was one of 10 children, and he was raised this way. However, it's always a hard. We try to give our animals the best quality of life as best as we can. When it comes to the processing day, it's always a hard day for me. She gets on me, because I would drag it out as long as possible because I just don't want to do it.
I'm like, let's get it done.
But I know we have to get it done because it's something that's going to be feeding our filling our freezers and whatnot.
Well, sure.
I was my family members and friends. They get on me. They were like, because
they're shocked that he's even.
Because I am totally against blood. I hate blood, needles. So they're surprised that I'm even doing this. But like I said, we try to give them the best quality of life. We even do some workshops and things of that nature. But chicken wasn't even the first animal that I wanted to be on the homestead. Was rabbit, but she was against rabbits.
They're so cute.
But here we are. We got chickens.
And we got rabbit nachos.
I know, right? So we had chicken and turkey. That was our first animals on this homestead. I love the turkeys, and once we found out that we couldn't breed them, I was like, I was so devastated because I was walking them around our pasture like they were dogs and
oh
stuff.
My goodness.
Yeah.
They follow him. Yeah. Like they would follow him next to our busy road.
Yeah, I was just walking around.
Turkeys are the sweetest ever. Like even though they're really dumb, they're really, really dumb, but they are just so sweet. It's like your own little personal dummy walking right beside you, like a little lost dog. They're so sweet.
Yeah, but we did a lot of homework and whatnot. Like she was saying, I wanted to figure out what was the best tasting chicken, because if we're going to be raising something, I would like to have something that tastes good. I'm not saying that the other chickens don't, but when you've tasted American breast, it's just so much better. But we've learned from our mentors about what's the difference between an egg layer, a dual purpose, and a meat bird. If you're going to have one, you can't have the other. So you got to learn the difference of, okay, I want eggs, so I need to find the best producing eggs. When we came to this homestead, we had some wild ducks come on our homestead. We was like, is these duck eggs good? So I had to crack it up and put one in the jar just to make sure it was fresh.
Yeah.
Because that's the one thing that you don't want to do when you're cooking your first egg off your farm is seeing the embryo of the chicken. You're like, I'm done with eggs for the rest of my life.
Oh, no.
And so we was like, oh my goodness, duck eggs is amazing. So ever since then, we like, man, forget chicken eggs. We want nothing but duck eggs. So here I go on the computer again.
Okay.
What's the best laying eggs and stuff like that? I saw the khaki Campbell. I saw the Indian runners. And I saw the best looking duck I ever seen was the Welsh Harlequin ducks. I was like, man, it's beautiful. They laid a large amount of eggs and you can sex them from birth. I was like, I'm getting these. So I got those. And then at that time, Monica's like, well, we saw that you like duck eggs. So here's some duck eggs and everything of that nature. And this nigga Gordon had an incubator. I'm like, Monica,
I regretted that situation.
I said, Monica, are these eggs fertile? She said they could be. I was like, challenge accepted.
Everything is fertile on the Bland's Promised Land Ranch, okay? All of the animals.
Especially somebody with 19 kids.
Yeah. I had 8 kids and I had a lot of fertile animals, so everybody's fertile on the farm.
Well, I want to ask, because you made a point, Sidney, on that your mentor said that there's the difference between the egg layers, your dual purpose, and your meat birds, and you need to decide what you want and go with that. Now, would you keep, like, let's say, because I have one and I'm getting about 3 more female hen Easter eggers, which are known to be really good egg layers. I don't know about their meat. Don't know if I even want to try. Would you separate them by themselves? Like, let the girls go have like girl time in their pen, and then get your dual purpose together for if you want them to raise them for meat?
So yes, we have 2 separate flocks. Oh, excuse me, 2 separate flocks of the American breast, and then we have our wild barnyard mix of egg layers. We keep all 3 flocks separate. We don't free range any of our animals except for our Top Gun crew. We call our Top Gun crew our waterfowl with our geese and our ducks. And the only reason for that, because they're excellent free range type animals. They don't disturb the ground. They really don't need to feed them. That's what I love about them.
And their eggs are right there in the morning.
Yeah, they're easy to train. And so, but yeah, for the egg layers,
dual purpose and Easter eggers can just all go together.
Dual purpose, I would if I was trying to be a self-sufficient homestead or small farm, I would definitely get a dual purpose dual purpose bird. That way you don't have to rely on the hatchery to restock your chickens, because chickens are born with a certain amount of eggs out of their lifetime. They're going to lay that many eggs throughout their lifetime. After 2 to 3 years, their productions of their stress of the body kind of dwindles down. So sometimes you want to rotate them about every 2 to 3 years, or just wait till their lifetime spans out. But the longer you wait to do that, the less amount of eggs you'll be.
That's why we just retired some to freezer camp, because we knew that the cycle was...
Yeah, we had them for longer than 2 years, and we had them longer than what we wanted to have them. But we have now a flock where we can just continue going. Mrs. Nicka Gardner,
I wanted to get rid of everything except for American breast.
And the neck and necks.
Well, I was on, like, this 3rd generation upbreed of our American breast is so phenomenal that he was surprised that I was like, let's get rid of the naked. Like, I like them better than my favorite.
Yeah. So we keeping the naked necks for the simple name of
the naked gardeners. But they're also a really great bird.
Yeah.
They are. Yeah.
Are you enjoying our Hay Bale topics? To learn more, click our Linktree link to get all our product recommendations, along with discount codes and more.
In the hottest days they were laying.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I wanted to, because we've been talking about chickens, but I want to kind of like sidetrack to the side because, of course, this is a couple days before Thanksgiving. And as homesteaders, we think about not only just chickens as poultry, but some of us may raise turkeys. And I know you had mentioned turkeys before. We all talked before the show and found out that y'all do not have turkeys as of now. But this is for anybody on the panel. I know me and Monica have talked about it. Who has turkeys? What kind of turkeys, and what do you raise them for?
I have turkeys here on my farm. My neighbor called up one day and said, I have 7 baby turkeys. Can they come live at your place? And I said, yes, they can. And we did a video where we sexted our turkeys. No, sexed them, not sexted. Sorry. We sexed our turkeys, and that was a great fun video because at the beginning of it, my husband misunderstood and he actually did get his phone out and started trying to sext the turkeys. But anyways, so but they come here, they live their natural life, they're a heritage breed. We've got a couple of bourbons out there and some blue slates and you know, I had my very first turkey. His name was Chandler, and he would literally come out every morning up onto the porch, get up on a blue chair right in the window, and he would sit and visit with us when we had coffee every morning. So, and his girlfriend was Monica, and you know, all of my chickens are named, or all of my turkeys are named after the cast of Friends. And so they're just my entertainment. They're my love. They're my friends. And so this Thanksgiving, we will be having a lovely, lovely loaf of turkey. And so we will not be eating our turkeys. But that's why I have them. They come here so that they can avoid going to freezer camp. And they just live out their natural lives. And I love them. And they are adorable because they are not the highest intelligent. I do want to say that I have heard reports that when Cayce goes out walking with his turkeys, he actually wears a shirt with an arrow across pointing to his turkey. It says, "I was stupid." So I have heard that.
I knew you were watching me, friend. I just knew it.
I'm a stalker. So who else?
I was about to say, I know that we have Blue Slate, because I heard you mention that we have our girl. Her name is Ethel. We renamed him to Fred and Ethel, but she's a Blue Slate. And then our boy, which luckily I had to call Monica one day and be like, Monica, just please tell me it's a boy and that I didn't keep 2 girls. Because I have all boys and chickens, and now I'm going to have all girls and turkeys, and that's not how it works. But we found out that he is. He is a boy. His name's Fred, and he's a mix of Blue Slate and the bourbon. And I'm wanting to breed to have more turkeys to go in my freezer camp for the holidays. So what about y'all, Naked Gardeners? What did y'all have when you had your turkeys?
We had the bronze breasted,
and we were totally ignorant. I'm really glad that we started off with them because it gave us a real worldview on, you know, like it is a commercial breed for meat, just like it's like your Cornish cross but turkey version. And we really enjoyed them, but I really did not enjoy them the last 2 weeks.
We made a mistake. One of the mistakes that we did with them was that we wasn't feeding them as meat bird. We was feeding them as regular poultry, chickens and stuff. We was supplementing their feed. We wasn't just pounding them with just feed. So they started sometimes jumping over the fence and stuff and waiting for us, like, hey, come and feed us and things of that nature. I used to feed them out of my hand, but once they got a little bit too old, I was like, oh, that kind of hurts a little bit too much. So I stopped doing that. So, but I still enjoyed them. I wish I would have kept one just to have around one time, just to have
but
around.
It made us mindful, you know, that is like a bird that we can have. We would want a blue slate. Like, I think that's what our preference. Like, at some point in time, we want to have a heritage blue slate. Now, for me particularly, I haven't been like very emotionally attached to a lot of the birds until we got geese, and I hatched out my first baby geese. I
love the geese and the ducks.
The geese are the most emotionally intelligent animal on our property.
And geese will weed your garden for you.
What's that?
Geese will weed your garden for you.
Oh, they're the best. They're the best. And I just love them.
And that was one of the main reasons why I wanted to get the geese. Well, one of the reasons. One of the reasons was when we first got the Welsh Harlequins, we had the hawk kill 2 of our ducks. And then since we're going to be having an orchard, we saw Big Little Farm and saw that they had the ducks and geese just go through their orchard. So that was this is my whole plan.
Wow.
Is get a little bit more geese and ducks, and during the off season, go through our orchard and during our garden, just weeding them out, pooping around there and doing all, because they won't tear it up. They'll just aerate the holes and stuff like that, kill off the grubs.
Eat the slugs.
We get a lot of grubs, and so I know they're gonna be digging for them.
So we have crawfish here too.
Oh yeah, they love to chase after.
The ducks do.
Yeah, play football with the crawfish, seeing how they. I love it.
Oh, I love crawfish myself, so that's good.
Just so you know, though, that when the chickens or the other poultry get a hold of something like that, and it's a melee, they don't play football; they play rugby. It is rough.
Oh yeah, rugby.
It is brutal. And they just beat each other up, and who can ever pick it up next and run, and then it's just game on. I will tell you guys, since we were talking about the heritage turkeys, I will share with you guys real quick that I go walking every Friday with my neighbor, and we were walking through a cemetery a couple of weeks ago, and somebody's heritage breed turkeys got out, and they were in the cemetery, snuck up behind me while we were walking, and I heard the leaves rustle, and I turned around, and the one turkey was after my ghibli bits. He was going to get me right in the keister, and my friend turned around just as I screamed, and all she saw was this mass of something. She thought it was a bear, and she started running. She left me because, it's like you're only as fast as your slowest person. If she can stay ahead of me, I'm the one who's going to get eaten by the bear. But we literally got chased out of the cemetery by territorial turkeys that had taken up residence there.
Oh my gracious.
She won't go back. She's traumatized. We had to go somewhere else and walk the next time because she's
so do y'all do this on the regular? Walk through cemeteries?
Yeah, we walk through the cemetery who's going to mess with us there?
Yeah.
Nobody's going to mess with us there except for the turkeys.
Just the wild turkeys.
Yeah.
And zombies.
Yeah, where we live, we actually have a scavenger hunt at our cemetery where you get a piece of paper and you have to find certain headstones and you write down the name on certain headstones. They'll be like, find the headstone that has an engravement of, the San Francisco 49ers. And you find that, you write down the name of the person, and then you turn it in, and the Chamber of Commerce gives you tickets to go to the movies.
Okay.
Do you live in Halloween?
Not the dead people.
Oh my gosh. Ooh, Jesus.
I guess Halloween Town is actual place, and it's in Iowa. Like, she lives in Halloween Town.
Oh, God.
Yes.
This is my playground growing up. I used to live across the street from a historic graveyard. We used to hide all behind the headstones and
it's hot property. People are dying to get in there.
Yeah, had little picnics and just had a big time. That was my playground.
I think sometimes they're lovely. I walked through the cemetery. I walked through 2 cemeteries in the last month. I mean, how else do you think I get my cardio? Because all it takes is one little noise behind me, and I'm running. I'm running. We could solve all this if we just tied everybody's shoelaces, and then they can't chase you.
Yeah.
But I just thought I'd share that turkey story because she was traumatized. I was traumatized. I did get my cardio that day.
Even there.
You're traumatized now.
No, speaking on that, I was surprised to find myself so drawn to geese because there really is a lot of people. It is kind of like one of those animals that people either really like or they hate or they're scared of.
Because they get chased by them when they're a child?
Well, and I'm one of those kids that was too. But I don't know. There's a strength in mastering them. And they respect me. Any of them that have come up, like I've put my hand right on their chest and flipped them backwards. And I've gained
Is that like cow
respect.
tipping?
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
Just with geese.
Yeah. But like they respect and fear me. They
Awesome.
follow me. They listen to me.
She done that to me, and I fear her.
So you know.
You better
But I don't
watch
know.
out.
It's just I don't know. It feels magical to have them kind of
That's
like
awesome.
like kind of come in and gather and be how they are.
I don't know why, but when you're telling this story, I'm thinking of Ice Age, when that three-toed sloth, where they think he's like a deity, and they're all humana, 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 and they all love him so much. That's how I imagine your geese are when you show up. They're like, swicky,
Yes,
swicky,
that's
swicky,
right.
humana, 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 humana.
I like that. They're
Yeah.
like they'll even put
That's
their
the way
wings
that's how I see it in my mind.
Oh my goodness. Well, we don't have any domesticated geese. We do have a yard full of Canada geese.
Oh, those are aggressive.
No, well, they try to hiss at me and things, but just like any other bird, you show authority. And I tell them that you had better behave yourself because this is my yard, not yours. And if you don't, you will be on my dining room table. And so they just go on about their business.
What I've learned today is I really think it's great because Tori has taught me something.
I've been doing it all wrong because we have Canada geese here as well, and they can be territorial and aggressive.
Yes.
And all this time I've been flipping them off. When what I need to do is I just need to flip them.
Yes.
I was missing half of the equation. So now I know what to do. Thank you for that.
I mean, I am respectful of them when they have their babies. I do give them space when they do have the little ones. They get a little bit more grace. But the rest of the time, I'm the boss. And my husband certainly is the boss. And we have enough time now that we have fed them in our yard that some of the wild geese will come up and eat out of the can that we bring the food out. They'll walk up to the house and holler for us to say, hey, time to eat out here. Thank you very much. But, I mean, we have enjoyed them. They're not domesticated at all. So,
What are your geese from Jersey, Miss Ann? Where exactly are your geese coming from? Because last time I checked, that's not what my Canadian geese sound like
It's
down here.
Canadian Jersey, Monica. Canadian Jersey. Okay.
Got it. I just want to make sure because hers sounds real different.
To North Carolina.
Yeah, this past year was my first time actually hatching out some baby geese, and they what is it called? Where they they imprinted on me.
Oh.
And it was oh my God, that's made me fall in love with them.
Yeah.
Because like they like cuddle you. They're affectionate. They're not like chickens or dogs or like any other of the poultry. They're affectionate. And I would go outside and I'd set them on they followed me everywhere through all my chores. Everything. It's a beautiful experience.
My first two pecans did that. They followed me everywhere.
They're so sweet.
Yeah. Well, we have quite a bit of poultry that comes up in the backyard. We have the Canada geese. We have wood ducks and mallards. Lots of dove, things like that will come up because we do have.
I will say that for the second year in a row. We do have a visitor that comes to the farm every morning. And so we have a wild turkey that shows up. She shows up every day to eat with the other turkeys, and we named her Phoebe.
Oh, cool.
Because everybody's named after friends, so she's our Phoebe. And but we have tons. As close as we are up here, we're just very close to the Minnesota border, so we're not too far from Canada. And so we do get the Canada geese that fly over. But out here we call them honkers.
Okay.
We don't call them Canada geese. They're called honkers. And I mean, there are even restaurants up here called, the honker. I mean, it's just all honkers.
I hadn't heard that.
Yeah. And so we'll be standing outside, and my husband will say, "Oh, I hear honkers," and sure enough, we'll find a formation flying over, and it's like, "See you, fellas. You're flying south for the winter. We'll see you next year when you come back." But I personally love the honkers. I love to watch them. I love to listen to them. But up here, it's almost like they're vermin. I mean, they're aggressive. They poop everywhere. Nobody likes them, but I happen to like them very much.
Well,
I want to get real quick, Anne, go ahead, and then I want to talk about what anybody knows about quail. What were you going to say, Anne? I'm sorry.
No, I have a chicken question because I am new at chickens. And I had started them on a particular feed that I really like. I mean, it smells so good that I could eat it. It really smells delicious. It smells seasoned and has fresh vegetables in it and all these
Start
things.
with a K?
Yes. Yeah. But
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, but I couldn't find it. I can't find it locally. And I didn't want to, I had gotten it under a special. Anyway, my question is, in a roundabout way, if you change your chicken food, I know if I change my dog's food, my dog's going to have an upset stomach. If you change your chicken food, does that happen? Are they kind of like that? Or do they just eat whatever's there and it doesn't bother them?
They're omnivores.
Omnivores.
Yeah. So they'll eat just about anything. Now we don't mainly feed our chickens feed. We supplement them with our feed, and we also do a fermented feed.
Okay.
So with the fermented feed, it adds a little bit nutrition value to them and gives them a lot of gut health, some good gut health.
Okay, so what is fermented feed? I don't know.
It's something you need to do, Miss Anne, with your small flock. It would benefit them. I think you'd enjoy it.
That's why I wanted to learn.
Great.
Yes. So what you do is, do you have a stationary pen, or do you?
It's a coop.
Okay, so
it's a house, a hen house, and a coop.
Okay, so you got how many chickens do you have? 8. So
but 6 of them are just like 5 months old.
Yeah, so I would, however much that you feed them, I would put it in a 5-gallon bucket and put some water in there. Do about 2 to 3 buckets of this, and cover it anywhere from 2 to 4 inches of water.
Okay.
And let that sit in there for about anywhere, no more than 3 days, 1 to 3 days. And then we do a 3-bucket system during the wintertime, 2-bucket system during the summertime, because Texas is get way too hot too fast. We just
it ferments fast.
Yeah, we just broke 100 degrees for the last 54 days.
We're finally in the 90s. We got a cool breeze.
But
see, we're already in the 50s at night. So
so what you do is you just take that their feed, let it soak in water at least for overnight. Stir it up right when you're about to feed, and make sure you have the lid on it. Don't put it on there tight. Allow that. It's just like when you're fermenting vegetables, food, whatever like that. Allow that air to kind of burp out freely. And the next day, you just dump it into their trough, ground, however way that you feed them. They'll go crazy.
And we keep ours in a shaded area. Yeah. Don't have it in direct sunlight.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I've got a shed.
That's us in Texas because it's get hot.
Some people are kind of funny about it, where they just have it indoors, in whatever their air is indoor. I'm working with what we have going on outside when we're doing it. Mm-hmm. And just so you know, for a different perspective, I really don't like doing fermented feed. He loves it. It does save us money. But for me, I'm doing the chores every day, and it adds more time to what I'm doing, and it adds more labor to what I'm doing, but it does save us money. So it's what is your priority?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. And I'll share from my perspective, Ms. Ann, real quick, what I'll share with you, and for our listeners who are listening and maybe they want to get started in it, is I do mine inside, and I do have a small to medium-sized flock. And so, but I'll supplement. It's not the only thing they get. But what I'll do is I will take a mason jar, a quart mason jar. I'll put a cup of feed in there. I'll throw some water in there, put the lid on loosely, like you said, because it does have to have the availability to burp. And I'll put it on the kitchen counter. where it's not in direct sunlight. And then the next day I start another one. And then the next day I start another one. Then at the end of that third day, I go to the first one that I did. And each day you stir them. I just take a little knife in there and stir it up. And it's going to swell almost like oats or oatmeal or something. It's going to swell like that. And that's where you get that better feed for your dollar amount, because it swells up and you're getting all of that benefit. And like I said, it has the probiotics and everything for their gut health. So when I get to that fourth day, I will take the first jar that I did. I'll take it out and I'll pour it in a dish for my chickens. They love it. They still get their other feed as well, but this is just a nice little treat for them. And I'll take that jar and I put it at the end of the row and I start it for its first day. And the next day I can do jar 2, and you just do it on a rotational basis. I can start anytime I want. I can stop anytime I want. Yeah. And it's just, those 3 little jars that I keep on the countertop, and they love it.
Well, what's the benefit of it?
Well, you get the probiotics, you get you get that fermentation.
Okay.
And so it's good for their gut. It, the other thing is, like I said, it swells up and it saves you money because you're getting it's stretching.
Less waste.
And then they can eat it faster, better as well. And they wind up because a lot of the bird feed has a lot of sodium in it. So with that soaking in it, it allows them to not have so much sodium, and they won't drink as much. Well, they actually, I think, they will drink. They won't drink as much.
You'll realize how long the water lasts when they have fermented feed.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And like Tori said, there's less food waste, because if you think about when you're feeding your chickens your dry crumbles or your dry pellets, and they get in there and it just kind of goes everywhere.
Yeah.
This has the consistency, like you said, it's not quite like oatmeal. It's not as sticky as oatmeal, but when they're eating, it's not flying everywhere out of the dish. They actually get so much more of the feed.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I mean, they do get out of the pen every day for about an hour and run around our yard, but we're always out there with them because we do have predators in the area, and we're in a neighborhood. I can't be having my girls run off and visit somebody. So, but I appreciate that information, because I keep hearing about this, and I wasn't a chicken person until this past April. So, and Monica?
So, Miss Ann, have you clipped your wings for your poultry? Because if you don't want them to fly off, you could clip their wings, just one side. It's very easy to do. It's not hard. It doesn't hurt them. It's like trimming their nails. And there's lots of videos out there. Carmen from Jesus Loving Homesteader, she did a video on it, even on Instagram. And if you wanted to, you could FaceTime and I can show you how to do it. It's super easy, and it helps them. It just makes them feel off balance, so they don't want to fly. We don't do it because ours don't go anywhere. But if you're in a community, we used to live in a community in Maryland, and we had 5 chickens in a community, and we did clip their wings when we had them, because they would free range for a few hours during the day. And we noticed they would try to hop up on the wood pieces in the yard and try to fly out if we weren't careful. So after we noticed they were getting a little bold, we decided to go ahead and clip their wings. I mean, it was 5 girls. We were able to do it in a jiff, and it wasn't a hard thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't do it now because it's pointless now. But if you need to keep them contained and you want them to be a little off balance, clipping their wings may be helpful.
Just know they still run fast, even with one wing clip.
They run
can't fly, but they still run 12 miles an hour. So
they can still run.
Can't catch them.
But they're not going to fly, up and around. But I wanted to say too, with the turkeys and the chickens and the poultry, all the poultry, different things, we do fermented feed here with our chickens, our ducks. All of our poultry gets fermented feed. As a matter of fact, we give our pigs fermented feed. And that was something I had looked into. We had grown fodder before. And when Sidney said he did the fermented feed, and I'd seen his video on how he did it, I had basically told Eric, I'm like, I'm convinced this is going to be the best way to do it. And so we started doing it in the 5-gallon buckets here. And it really has saved us. Well, we don't do it all the time because the kids are in charge of it. So sometimes they forget and they're like, oh, we didn't ferment feed last night, because for us, it basically where we're putting ours, it's overnight. Like overnight, it's already bubbled, and we're like, Okay. I mean, it's a day. Like they do it. We feed ours about 10 or 11 a.m. We throw all that food out. They get let out earlier, but about 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, usually the kids are finally like, okay, I'm going to go feed the animals. We go, we check their water, and they put the feed out, and then they restart a new bucket for fermenting. But basically after sitting out in the heat of Texas all day, that 5-gallon bucket is ready by the next morning for us typically. And the chickens, the ducks, the turkeys, they love it. I mean, the turkeys will literally stand in it. It's kind of gross, but they absolutely love their life with their fermented feed. And then they do forage the rest of the day. They free range, they do all that, but they love their fermented feed. It's great for them. And we've noticed that their egg production is pretty great when they're eating fermented feed. If we change it up, sometimes it seems like a difference. But we have a bunch of just what we like to call designer breeds when it comes to our turkeys. We have, they're designer. It's called barnyard mixes, but we like to call them designer breeds because they're specifically designed by God through the mixing of the hair. But we have all heritage breeds here. We actually just had to put down our last red bourbon last night. Poor sweet baby. But we have some of the standard bronze. It's the heritage bronze, like that smaller, not the broad breasted, but it's like that bronze color. We've got a few. I think I have a royal palm mix. I have a blue slate mix. I have some really gorgeous like blue gray colors, but they're all mixes, but they're our babies. And my son raises them. And when we do our turkeys, we started out with like 6. And my goal is to raise 12 to 18 each year so that I have my turnaround so that I have 1 turkey a month for my family. So if I can hatch out, because I don't let my turkeys hatch their own eggs pretty much. They try, but they fail every time. They're terrible at being great mamas and raising their babies. So I snatch up all their eggs. I try as hard as I can to hatch out as many eggs as possible. And I try to have, my goal is to between 12 and 18 that we raise here each year as a new breed, as a new blood. We raise them up and then we go through them so that I know that if I want to pull out several throughout the year to raise up. So we raise all of our own turkey dinners for Thanksgiving, for Christmas, for Easter. Anytime we want turkey dinner, we know we have a turkey out there. We process just a few at a time. We don't do it all the time. We know who we want to go to. We mark them, we tag them, and we do it that way so that we can keep that being sustainable with our turkey breeds, because we don't want to have to go buy new ones if we don't have to. And every now and then we may trade up with somebody that we know is raising turkeys and we can trade eggs or whatever. But the idea is to be able to be sustainable with that breed. And so we do raise the heritage breed turkeys too. And for ducks, we do the Muscovies, because the Muscovies very much are like the that deep red meat that you're getting from your beautiful poultry, your American breasts. If you raise the Muscovies, you're going to get that richer meat too when you're looking at ducks. So in terms of ducks, you kind of have a very heavy comparison to that American breast, like kind of idea. Does that make sense what I'm saying? Or is it like make no sense at all?
Yes, it does.
Tori, I think you wanted to say something too.
Yeah.
Tori, did you want to say something?
Oh, earlier I did. Just on the tail end of the fermented feed talk, I wanted to just add that something that I do, that we do here, is I always save all of my eggshells. I dehydrate all my eggshells. I pulverize all my eggshells, and I add it to my fermented feed.
Oh.
I add a little dash to each, like every day. It's just
I'm so afraid to do that. I'm scared they're going to want to eat the eggs.
Oh
no! If you collect the eggs regularly, then they won't eat the eggs. But if you
well, we get them every day. But...
Yeah, but if you leave it in, I'll collect it tomorrow like that, then that increases the chances of them eating some eggs.
Yeah, but they're not going to have it like eggshell in their fermented feed and know what an egg tastes like.
It's just
they're only going to know about the egg tasting like if you ever feed them an egg and like crack it and like leave it in there.
Okay, good. All right, good. Now,
eggs are good for them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, good. All right. Well, I mean, I just was always nervous about that. We save all of our eggshells.
It's okay. I was the same way, Miss Ann. I'm the same way. But because I was like, well, what?
Ago. Like, I didn't know any of this 2 years ago.
I give all my chickens the eggshells. And then if we get an overabundance of eggs and we get to the point where it's like, I'm not going to eat these eggs, they're kind of iffy. I scramble them up and feed them back to the chickens. It's good food for them. So never, ever throw your eggs away. Nice. I mean, if they're obviously rotten, don't feed them to your chickens or your children or your grandchildren. And don't ask me how I know that. But if they're on the cusp, then, scramble them up, feed them to your chickens. They'll appreciate it.
Okay. You guys, you have made me feel much more confident being a new chicken mama. So thank you. Thank you for your information. I appreciate it.
And I do want to correct your math earlier, Ann, because you said like having 2 chickens is like having 6 is like having 8. I just want to let you know it's really 14 or 18, and eventually that's going to go to 29. So just so you are aware of that. But anytime anybody shows up, like from your HOA or anybody from the city, they have to believe your math. You only have 2, period. That's it. Okay. Their eyes deceive them.
Right.
Tell them it's new math. They're teaching it in all the schools.
Okay.
You're just babysitting. That's all you're doing.
That's right. Oh yeah. I'm just
chicken daycare.
Chicken daycare.
Just for a few hours, very short period of time.
Okay, well, you know what, guys? We actually are just like over time. We've had such a great visit with the Naked Gardeners. If you haven't had a chance to go on over to their channel on YouTube, go check them out, subscribe, watch a video, leave a comment, let them know that you came over to them from Round the Hay Bale. And I do want to give you this tip. When you're looking them up, when you're putting them in the search bar, NAKID, Gardeners, plural, the Naked Gardeners, Mr. and Mrs. And so make sure that you spell it appropriately, because you'll get going somewhere else. And then make sure you visit all of us on our channels as well. And we'd love to have you come over. We appreciate you showing up for the broadcast here of the podcast. I'm a poet, and I didn't even know it. And so our broadcasts, they drop on Monday mornings at 9 a.m. Central Time. And then the next Tuesday, the very next day after they drop on a Monday, we get together for a radio show and we talk all about our podcast, and we also highlight comments and posts from our Facebook group, Beginners Homesteading Guide. That's on Facebook. Go on over there and join that as well. We have all kinds of different places for you to learn all kinds of neat information, and we would love to share all of that with you. So that is the end of our show today. We appreciate you guys showing up so much. We want to thank our guests, Sidney and Tori from the Naked Gardeners. Thank you so much for joining us for this podcast. We love having you. We hope you'll come back again. And for the rest of you listening out there today, from all of us here at Round the Hay Bale, take care of yourself. Take care of each other. Have a blessed week, and we will see you next time here on Round the Hay Bale.
Join your hosts back here next week on Round the Hay Bale.